Let's start off by finding a comfortable position to rest in. You could choose to be seated or you could be reclined on the ground. Whatever position you find most comfortable. And once you've found that position that works for you, we'll start to settle in a bit more deeply. Sinking down through each place where the body makes contact with the ground. Allowing yourself to get a bit heavier at each one of those points of contact. And taking a moment to scan through the body, starting either at the top or the bottom. Working your way down or working your way up, looking for any areas where you feel like you're holding on, where there's a sense of muscular activation. And consciously release those muscles. Give yourself permission to soften into the support beneath you. Getting a bit more connected with the ground with each passing moment. And without trying to change anything, let's take our awareness to our breathing. At first, just noticing how the body feels as you inhale and exhale. Noticing what parts of the body move as you breathe in and out. And then if you do notice that your breathing is a bit short or shallow, try drawing the next inhale a little bit more deeply into the body. Visualize the air traveling down the back of your throat, filling up your lungs, letting your rib cage expand, and then allowing your belly to rise. And going the opposite direction on the exhale, letting the belly soften, letting the air travel back up and out. As the lungs empty out, the ribs soften. And once you found a slow, comfortable breath that works for you, Something that's maybe a little bit deeper than your regular breath, but something that you feel that you're forcing. We'll start to invite some movement back into the body by gently wiggling fingers and toes, maybe circling wrists and ankles, turning the head from side to side. And we'll bring the body back to stillness. If you did begin the class laying down, taking a moment to draw your knees in towards your chest and roll over onto whichever side of the body you prefer. Pausing there for a moment, allowing yourself to adjust. And then slowly making your way up to whatever seated position you like best. You can choose to have your legs crossed, or you can extend them out in front of you. You can sit directly on the floor, or you can sit on some other surface if you'd rather. We'll start by sitting up tall, and then we'll lift the shoulders up towards the ears as we inhale. As we exhale, let's squeeze the shoulder blades together and draw them down the back. Taking your time, lifting the shoulders with each breath in, and squeezing and lowering with each breath out. And let's take those shoulders the other direction, still lifting up on the inhale. Then rolling the shoulders forward, spreading the shoulder blades nice and wide. Maybe noticing a sensation of stretch along the spine or in between the shoulders. And let's bring the shoulders back to stillness. From here, as we inhale, let's reach the right hand up overhead and we'll drop the left hand down onto the floor beside us, lengthening all along the right side of the body, allowing the right hip to get even heavier, and then reaching straight up and over with the right hand. As we inhale, we'll focus on lengthening the spine, maybe coming out of the fold a little bit. As we exhale, hinging at the hips, leaning over towards the left. If you notice that your right shoulder is dropping forward, see if you can draw it back so the shoulders are in line with the hips. And the focus is on lengthening the side of the body here. You can choose to look straight ahead or down towards your left hand. Or you can roll that right shoulder back even a little bit further and look up towards the ceiling. Breathing in to reach and breathing out to soften and fold. Good, we'll come all the way back up, reaching both hands up overhead, lengthening the body. And then we'll drop the right hand down, extend the left arm up and over. Doing the same thing on the opposite side. As we inhale, we'll focus on lengthening up. As we exhale, maybe folding over towards the right. Choosing where you'd like to fix your gaze, either up down, or straight ahead. And then allow yourself a few breaths in the pose. Inhaling to lengthen, exhaling to soften and fold. And let's release. We'll come all the way back up. Reach both hands up overhead. And then we'll drop the left hand down onto the left knee and the right hand behind or beside us. Let's press down into both hands, lift up a little bit more tall. And then on an exhale, start to draw the right shoulder back, twisting open towards the right side, and then maybe looking back over the right shoulder. As we inhale, we'll press down into the hands. As we exhale, open towards the right. Using each inhale to lengthen the body and each exhale to soften and open. Good, let's inhale to release, coming back to center. We'll bring the right hand onto the right knee and the left hand either down behind or beside us. Let's press down into both hands to lift up, and then as we exhale, let's start to draw the left shoulder back, opening the body towards the left side and maybe looking back over the left shoulder. Each inhale, lifting up tall, and the exhale, opening towards the left. And let's release, inhaling, coming back to center. We'll pause for a moment in an upright position, drawing the shoulders back and down, lengthening up through the crown of the head, sitting up tall. Let's drop the chin down towards the chest, lengthening the back of the neck. You can choose if you'd like to interlace your fingers, placing your palms at the back of your head, allowing your elbows to draw together so that your shoulder blades separate. Allowing those hands to be just a little bit of extra weight, not putting any force on the head if you are resting your hands there. Breathing into any sensation along the back of the neck or between the shoulder blades. And let's release. We'll come all the way back upright. Let's take the left ear down towards the left shoulder and soften the right shoulder down. We'll walk the right fingertips out onto the ground. And if you'd like, you can take your left hand up onto your right ear, guiding it up and over, bringing length into the right side of the neck. We'll pause here, continuing to soften that right shoulder down. Lengthen up on the inhale, and soften on the exhale. And let's release. We'll come all the way back upright. And we'll switch sides, taking the right ear down towards the right shoulder, softening the left shoulder down, and then walking those left fingertips out onto the ground. Again, here, if you'd like, you can take your right hand up onto your left ear, guiding it up and over. Breathing into the left side of the neck. And releasing, we'll come all the way back upright. Let's make our way into a tabletop shape. Coming up onto our hands and our knees, moving any props out of the way. We'll take our knees a little bit wider than hip distance apart. You can have your toes tucked under, or you can have them flat on the floor. We'll keep the arms pretty straight and the hips lifted. Start to walk the hands out in front of the body into extended puppy pose. Lengthen hips up and back. Reaching the fingertips forward. On the inhale, focusing on that length of the spine, and on the exhale, focusing on softening chest and forehead down towards the ground. Being gentle with yourself, coming to a place where you just start to feel the stretch, nothing too intense, paying close attention to the shoulders, the underarms, the sides of the body. And then allow yourself to rest in that place. Take a couple more slow, deep breaths. And then we'll walk the hands back up towards the body. And we'll find child pose, taking the knees even wider apart. Bring the big toes together, sit the hips back to the heels, and then allow the upper body to rest down. You can choose to reach forward with energy, stretching the fingertips forward, lengthening tailbone back. Or you can allow those arms to relax, bending through the elbows, softening the upper body down. You can even choose, if you'd like, to bend the elbows deeply, stacking the arms and resting your head on the backs of your hands or on balled hands. And here, let's pay attention to the back of the body as we inhale and exhale, feeling the expansion of the ribcage on each breath in, and allowing the body to soften on each breath out. And letting the hips get heavier and heavier. And from here, let's bring ourselves back upright. And we'll take the knees together. So we're setting up for our hero pose. If you're more comfortable with your heels stacked under your sitting bones, you can leave them as they are. If it's okay on your knees, you can take your heels a little bit wider so they're just outside of your hips, allowing your sitting bones to rest down on the ground. So again, that depends on the comfort level of your knees. If you feel any pain in your knees, going back to the original version where your heels rest under your hips, you can choose to stay fully upright here, or if you're not really feeling a stretch across the tops of your legs yet, you can take your hands back behind you, lift your hips up, tuck your tailbone forward and up, and then lower the hips back down again. Usually that brings a little bit of a deeper stretch into the tops of the thighs. If you're still not feeling it there and you want to go deeper, you can come down onto your elbows if you'd like. Allowing your gaze to be forward, just past the fronts of your knees. Finding a gentle stretch along the tops of the legs and pausing here for a few moments, breathing in and breathing out. Good. We'll start to make our way back up. If you were down on your elbows, coming up onto your hands. If you're on your hands, walking those hands further forward, we'll come all the way back upright and straight over into our tabletop. Taking a moment to roll through ankles. And we'll bring the legs back to stillness. Let's take the right hand in towards the center of the mat, and we'll step the right foot just outside of that right hand. You can have your toes pointing forwards or out towards the top right corner of the mat, and we'll stack the right knee over the right ankle. Here we'll look for a little bit of a stretch through the back of the right hamstrings or front of the left hip. So if you're already feeling it where you are, you can stay. If you're not feeling it just yet, you can slide your left knee back a little bit further. Once you start to feel that sensation, pausing there. Softening hips forward and down. Pressing down through the top of the left foot to find a little bit more activity through the left leg. The left glute should be engaged. And you can either rest up on your hands, or you can make your hands into balls and rest on the knuckles if it's uncomfortable for your wrist to press down into your hand. Another option here is to come a bit more upright. This tends to deepen the stretch across the front of the left hip, so doing that only if it feels comfortable for you. You can rest your hands on the front of your right thigh or together in front of your heart. And again, here we'll breathe, lengthen up, breathe out, soften, forward and down. Remembering you can always adjust the distance between your legs as well. So if you do choose to come upright and it feels like a bit too much for you, you can walk that right foot back a little bit further or walk the left knee forward. One or two more slow breaths here. And then we'll come all the way back down, placing hands on the ground, sliding the left knee forward if you slid it back, and then stepping the right foot back to meet the left. Just gently shift the hips from side to side. And then we'll come back to center. I'll take the left hand in towards the middle of the mat and step the left foot just outside of the left hand. Again, here, option to point the toes forward or slightly open to the side. We'll have the left knee stacking over the left ankle. And we'll look for a little bit of a stretch through the left hamstrings or through the front of the right hip. So you can choose to stay where you are. You can slide your right knee back a little bit further if you're not feeling that sensation yet. You can stay on your hands, or you can form your hands into balls and rest on your knuckles. It's a little bit more comfortable for the wrists in most cases. If it's comfortable for you and you'd like to come upright, you can do that as well, getting lighter on the fingertips and then making your way up, either resting your hands on the top of your left thigh or together in front of your heart. Being mindful of the stretch across the front of the right hip, so often coming up makes that stretch a little bit deeper. If you do choose to come up and you need to adjust the distance between your legs, you can do that as well, either walking your left foot back or your right knee forward. Let's breathe into the sensation that we're feeling. Allowing each exhale to take a little bit of tension out of the body. And then we'll release the hands back down onto the ground. If you did walk that right knee back, bringing it forward. And then we'll step the left foot back to meet the right, shifting hips side to side. And bringing ourselves back to stillness. We'll start to walk the hands back towards the body. We'll come to an upright kneeling position. So hips stack over knees and shoulders stack over hips. Knees are about hip distance apart. They can be a little closer or a little further depending on what's comfortable for you. Toes can be flat on the floor or they can tuck under, again, whatever you prefer. We'll take our hands to our low back so that the palms are pressing into the sacrum and the fingertips point down. Let's draw our elbows together so that our shoulder blades draw together and there's a bit more openness through the chest. If that already feels pretty intense for you, you can stay where you are. Remember, you have to draw your elbows back so deeply if it's not comfortable. If you are comfortable where you are and you'd like to take it a little bit further, we'll start to lift up through the chest each time we breathe in, and then press the hips a little bit further forward as we breathe out. For now, keeping the gaze ahead of you, lifting up as you breathe in and pressing forward as you breathe out. Keep pressing those hands into your sacrum. Keep drawing the elbows back as much as it's comfortable. Breathing in to find lift and breathing out to find softness and maybe a little bit of a deeper back bend. And gradually, maybe taking your gaze up towards the ceiling, keeping control of your neck, not dropping the head down. Breathing in to lift up, breathing out to soften. Notice maybe a tendency to clench through the jaw or find some tension through the neck. If you're doing that, allow yourself to soften, maybe bring your gaze back up. Take 2 more breaths here. And then we'll come all the way back up, right? Let's take those hands out in front of us, rolling through wrists, maybe rolling through shoulders. And then we'll make our way up to standing at the top of the mat. Starting off by finding our mountain pose. Letting the feet be about hip distance apart. Toes can either point straight forward or slightly open to the sides. Let's draw the shoulders up, back and down, and then we'll extend the arms out at the sides. Fingers are spread wide or drawing together, so there's some energy through the palms. And those palms can face in towards the body or out towards the front. As we breathe in, let's lift up, lengthen up, reach through the crown of the head. And as we exhale, let's press down into the feet. Paying special attention to the ball of the foot and the heel. Feeling that connection between your body and the ground. As we inhale, lifting up, finding some activation through the thighs, through the glutes. And as we exhale, pressing down into the ground, finding that sense of connection. Bring our hands onto our hips from here. We'll slide the right foot back behind us, setting up for our high lunge. So we want our heel lifted and our right toes pointing forwards. Hips and shoulders face directly towards the front of the mat. And the left knee stacks over the left ankle. And you want to take as wide a stance as you comfortably can, paying attention to the sensation of stretch across the front of the right hip. And also the sense of stability. So we want a nice firm base, but also a little bit of a stretch through the leg. From here, you can start to press your heel back even further, straightening out through that right leg as much as it's comfortable to do so. And then lunge into the left knee. As we inhale, we'll focus on the right leg, pressing it back, and then also lifting up through the crown of the head. And as we exhale, we'll lunge into the left knee, soften the hips down and forward. You can leave your hands on your hips for support, or you can take them out in front of your body in Anjali Mudra, or you can extend your arms up overhead, whatever option you prefer. Starting to feel some muscular activation through the quad, maybe through the glutes on the left side, and continuing to stretch through the right side. Breathing in, lifting up and pressing back through the right heel. Breathing out, rooting down, softening forward. Good, let's return the hands back down to the hips, and we'll turn the right toes open to the side, planting that right heel down, setting up for warrior two. We'd still like the left knee stacking over the left ankle and drawing open to the left side of the mat. We want our hips and shoulders facing towards the side, and then we'll extend our arms out front and back, one over each leg. Let's draw those shoulder blades together and spread the fingers wide. And then look over top of the left fingertips if that feels okay for your neck. As we inhale here, let's focus on lengthening up, stacking shoulders over hips. And as we exhale, again, lunging into the left knee to feel a little bit more energy through that left leg. A little bit more activity. Breathing in to lift up, breathing out to root down. Find equal weight through front and back foot. And then we'll release, returning hands back down onto hips. We'll heel toe that right foot in until we're able to step back to the top of the mat. Once at the top of the mat, we'll find our mountain pose. An active mountain pose, rooting down and lifting up. Feeling some muscular engagement starting to happen. Feeling energy through the hands. When you're ready, let's take our hands onto our hips and we'll slide our left foot back behind us. Again, taking as wide a stance as you comfortably can, while still allowing your right knee to stack over your right ankle, your left toes to tuck under, and your left heel to press back. Hips and shoulders face directly forwards. And we feel grounded through both feet. As we inhale, we'll lengthen the upper body, press back through the left heel. And as we exhale, lunge into that right knee, softening the hips down and forward. Remember, if it's uncomfortable to straighten through your left leg, you can always have a little bit of a bend in the knee. Gradually working towards straightening it as the pose goes on, as time goes on. Maybe getting there today, maybe not. Focusing really on activating muscle through the right quad and through the left glute. You can leave your hands at your hips for support. You can bring them together in Anjali Mudra or extend them up overhead. As we inhale, we'll reach up, lengthen up, and as we exhale, lunge down and forward. Keeping the body upright, keeping shoulders stacking over hips. Good, let's release the hands back down onto the hips. We'll turn the left toes open to the side, planting the left heel down and rooting through the outer edge of that left foot. Still stacking right knee over right ankle and then drawing that right knee open a little bit to the side. We'll face our shoulders and hips towards the side of the mat and then extend our arms out front and back so one arm is over each leg. Let's draw the shoulder blades together and spread the fingers wide. And then look over top of the right hand if that feels comfortable. As we inhale, we'll focus on lengthening the body, stacking shoulders over hips. As we exhale, bending into the right knee. Breathing in to lift up. Breathing out to soften. As you start to feel the muscles becoming more active, breathe into it. Remember, you can take a break at any time. And let's release. We'll bring hands onto hips. Let's heel toe that left foot in until we're able to step back to the top of the mat, finding our mountain pose. Making it once again an active mountain pose, rooting down, lifting up. From here, let's inhale, extending both arms up overhead, bringing the palms together, and then drawing back as far as you comfortably can, gazing up towards the ceiling, finding a gentle back bend. Inhaling to lift up, and exhaling, pressing chest and hips forward. Good, let's exhale, bending the knees will fold forward. Coming into a forward fold, allowing the head to hang heavy. Allowing the arms to hang heavy. Elbows either in front of the body or wrapping those arms around the backs of your legs. Take a moment to nod the head yes or shake the head no, releasing tension. Breathing into any sensation you feel through the backs of your legs or along the length of your spine. And then nice and slow, we'll come all the way back up, walking the hands up the legs, coming up with a flat back. Make our way slowly upright. Feet still hip distance apart. Let's inhale, both hands up overhead. Again, joining the palms. You can interlace the fingers if you'd like, leaving the index fingers pointing up in Kali Mudra. We'll inhale, reach up, and as we exhale, we'll hinge at the hips and lean to one side. Breathing in to lengthen up, breathing out to soften. Pressing the hips out. And finding that place where you start to feel stretch along the side of the body, pausing there. Breathing in to lift up, maybe coming out of the fold a little bit. And breathing out, softening into it. And let's inhale, coming back to center, and we'll switch sides. Take a deep breath in, lift up, and as you exhale, fold the other direction. Pressing out through the hip, lengthening up through the hands. Keeping shoulders in line with the hips. And then we'll inhale, coming back to center. Let's draw those hands down in front of the heart. We'll take the feet as wide apart as the mat. Big toes point open to the sides. We'll take a nice deep breath in, and as we exhale, we'll bend through the knees, lower the hips down, working our way down into Malasana, low squat. You can choose to adjust the distance between your feet if you'd like. My feet are a little bit more comfortable closer together. We'll press the elbows into the insides of the knees, lift up through the crown of the head, and soften down through the tailbone. Take a nice deep breath in to lengthen. Deep breath out to soften. And then we'll release down onto the ground. We'll take our hands back behind us, lower the hips down, and extend the feet out in front of the body. From here, let's place the hands just one on either side of the hips. So the fingertips are in line with the sitting bones. We'll point the toes forwards. Tuck those fingertips just underneath of the hips and then start to come back onto the elbows. We want the elbows to stay bent. So we're in a reclined, semi-upright position. Elbows are sort of under the shoulders, maybe a little bit further forward. Gaze towards our toes. From here, just as we did in our camel pose at the beginning of the class, as we inhale, we're going to start to lift up through the chest. And as we exhale, we'll press forward through the low belly. You can't really press forward through the hips. Breathing in to lift up and breathing out to hinge. Keeping that gaze forward is going to become a bit more difficult as you start to expand through the chest. So as that happens, you can move your gaze up towards the ceiling. And if it's comfortable, you can allow your head to drop back in this position. So maybe the top of the head comes in contact with the ground. If the top of the head doesn't quite reach, it's okay. You can leave it hanging. You can also choose to adjust your elbows if you need to, sliding your hands a little bit further forward or a little bit further back. We'll continue to lift up through the chest and press forward through the belly, coming into fish pose. Once you've come to a place that feels comfortable for you, we'll point the toes forward. Breathe in, lift up through the chest, lift up through the belly. Breathe out, root down through the elbows, root down through the hips. Making sure that you're not putting any pressure on your head or your neck. Using the support of your elbows to keep your upper body lifted. Come out, we'll come back the opposite way. So we'll start by tucking the chin into the chest, bringing the head upright, and then lowering the chest and belly back down again. We'll slide the elbows out from underneath all to the ground. Finding a comfortable position for the shoulders, taking the arms out to the sides. Maybe choosing to shift the feet from side to side. Turn the head from side to side. We'll bring the body back to stillness, and let's bend the knees, placing the feet down on the floor, about hip distance apart, just below the hips. We'll extend the hands down towards the backs of the heels, drawing the shoulder blades together and down on the back. And we'll ground down through the palms of the hands and the soles of the feet. We'll take a nice deep breath in, and on the exhale, let's lift those hips up, coming into a low bridge. So we want to land in a place where our knees are stacking over our heels, adjusting if you need to. Keep the knees from falling open, draw them towards one another so the thighs stay parallel. And as we inhale, we'll press down into the palms, press down into the feet, and lift those hips. And as we exhale, maybe find a little bit of softness, releasing tension from the jaw, and finding a sense of grounding. Feeling the glutes and the quads become more and more active the longer we rest in the pose. And continue to breathe all the way down the length of your spine, filling up the whole body with breath as you inhale. And releasing completely as you exhale. Good, one more big breath in. And then we'll exhale, slowly releasing all the way back down onto the ground. We'll draw the knees in towards the chest and rock gently from side to side, massaging the low back. And let's take those arms out into a T shape, and we'll rock the knees all the way over to the left, coming into a gentle twist. Anchoring down through the right shoulder, maybe looking over towards the right side if that feels comfortable for you. Taking a couple of slow breaths on this side. Allowing yourself to fill up on the inhale and soften on the exhale. And then we'll bring everything all the way back up to center. And we'll switch sides, taking the knees over to the right. Maybe taking the gaze over to the left. Twisting open towards the left side as you anchor down through the left shoulder. Breathing in to fill up and breathing out to soften. And when you're ready, bringing those knees all the way back up to center. So keep the feet about mat distance apart. We'll let the knees rest against each other. Finding a restful pose. You can leave your arms out in the T shape, or you can bring them in closer to your body. And you can also choose if you'd like to rest one hand on your belly, one hand on your heart. We'll pause a moment in this fairly neutral position, allowing the body to adjust. And you can choose to stay here if you're comfortable where you are. If you prefer to move into Shavasana, you can walk your heels down to the top corners of your mat. Let your toes rock open to the sides. Draw the shoulder blades down the back, pressing them into the mat. And let the arms extend out alongside the body. If you would prefer another position, you're welcome to that as well. Maybe a seated meditation or legs up the wall. Choosing whatever feels most comfortable for you. Whatever allows you to settle in and release tension. Whatever gives you the chance to rest for a few moments. And once you've found that position, that's going to be your final resting pose. Start to tune in to each place where your body makes contact with the ground or with any other kind of support. And at each and every one of those points of contact, let yourself settle in and get a bit heavier, a bit more connected, finding a sense of grounding and a sense of support. And just as we did at the beginning of the class, taking a moment to scan through the body, maybe top to bottom, looking for any areas of the body that feel like they're engaged, that feel like you're holding on. Maybe allowing those to soften. Allowing your eyes to close so that your attention can focus inwards. Or letting your gaze soften down. Working your way through releasing any areas of tension. Consciously relaxing the body a little bit at a time. Allowing the jaw to release open, letting the tongue fall away from the roof of the mouth. And even allowing your breathing to return to its own comfortable natural rhythm. No longer working to control the breath. Really allowing yourself the time here to rest. Time just to be. To rest in the here and the now. And let's start to invite a little bit of movement back into the body. Gently wiggling fingers, wiggling toes. Maybe circle wrists and ankles. And turning the head from side to side. Taking any kind of movement that feels good for you right now. And noticing how the body feels as you start to invite that movement back in. And let's bring everything back to stillness. If you are laying on your back, taking a moment to draw your knees into your chest and roll over to whichever side of the body you'd like. Pausing there for a moment. And then when you're ready, making your way up to a seated position, whichever one you find comfortable. Allowing yourself to anchor down through both sitting bones and lengthen up tall. Bring hands together in front of the heart in Anjali Mudra, sealing the outer edges of the palms and the tips of the fingers. From the light that shines within me to the light that shines within you. Namaste.